Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. I'm here in the mobile studio in Kentucky. So much to discuss regarding how Bachelor alumni and Bachelor Nation have reflected on the election from Tuesday. Essentially, half the country is devastated and half the country is happy. Plenty of people said if the other side gets in, it's going to be game over. And there's been a lot of violent rhetoric in both directions. With all of that said, not everybody in Bachelor Nation feels comfortable talking politics. Some people say I was raised to never talk politics and that's how it's supposed to be. My viewpoint on this is circumstantial. I think the people that feel educated to talk about politics, I say go for it. And for those that don't, I say don't. And Kaitlyn Bristowe is taking the don't side of things. So someone had posted this: love you so much and have been a follower from the very beginning, but I found it very hard that you didn't post about voting or anything before Election Day. And even this feels not relevant today. I know you're a Canadian and can't vote, but even this feels wrong one day out from the results. Again, first of all, why? Like, you know, this relationship people think that they have with their favorite podcasters. It's like, so you're going to hold Kaitlyn Bristowe accountable because, you know, did she cost people the election? Is that why Trump got 6 million more votes than Kamala Harris? Kaitlyn's response, graceful, said, love you too. If I talked politics, I'd have 100 people telling me to shut up. So I'm just doing what feels authentic to me, knowing I'll never win. Sorry if you're hurting. It's a scary time. Now, Kaitlyn would probably have more than 100 people yelling at her. It's pretty wild and sad when Call Her Daddy's Alex Cooper, the biggest podcast in the world, had Kamala Harris on. She had a whole bunch of people come after her. Megyn Kelly is bashing Taylor Swift for sharing her political preference, which, look, I'm of the mindset with the way I share my opinions that I would be fraudulent if I didn't tell people how I feel about everything. And that's why I'm about to do just that. With that said, nobody knows how to take a loss better than me. I have been in many careers where it is extremely competitive, from acting to stand-up comedy. Heck, even on a side note, I play baseball as a pitcher for fun, and that's a very hard thing to do. You fail more often than you succeed. I must have a weird kink for failure. With all of that said, most successful people fail on the way to the top. Most people, you know, you just keep on failing, and then within those failures, you're learning your lessons and you do it better and this and that. Not many people have green lights given to them every step of the way. Kaitlyn Bristowe's the same way. She's kind of wore her heart on her sleeve. Sadly for Kaitlyn, she's a product of an exhausting community that she's probably picking and choosing which battles she wants to fight. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not nearly as popular. Not as many people know who I am, and I still find it exhausting when every other DM, every other comment is negative, is hateful. You'd be shocked at how brutal it can be. So I don't blame her for protecting her peace and saying, my thoughts are just going to piss people off, so I'm not sharing them. That's the world that was created by the ravenous offense that exists online. That's the world that was created. But that's all I'm going to say about Kaitlyn, which is that I respect her even responding to this comment and saying, hey, this is why I'm not talking about it. And with that said, I'm going to share my thoughts. I'm not entirely surprised at the results of the election. The phone's ringing. I don't know. There's a phone. You can tell I'm at the in-laws when there's a phone. Why is their phone going off? I don't know. Okay, anyway, I'm going to talk over it. Maybe you guys can't hear it. Oh my gosh, it's hard to make content here. Here are my thoughts. Who has a phone anymore? You boomers with your phone line, your landlines there. Anyhow, I'm going to turn that off. I didn't know we had a phone. Can we order some pizza with that phone? There's a cord. You know, all the moms had that 80-foot long cord you'd get dangled up in. You'd be in the living room. You know, the whole house would be wrapped around this one phone line. Anyhow, I digress. So my thoughts are this. The reason why the election was lost is multifaceted, and there's many factors that go into that. So to say the country's sexist or the country's racist, well, the country has elected a black male president. Now, could you say there is a segment of the population that did not want a woman in office? Sure, you could make that argument. You can't not make that argument. There are so many variables that exist. I'm going to channel my, I don't even want to call it anger, but my disappointment into what happened directly at the DNC party. Now, I'm a progressive guy. I'm a populist guy. I want what I think a lot of people want, which is a strong economy. I want a strong minimum wage. I want strong, I want people to feel like they can buy a home and live out the American dream. I want all these things. The way the DNC has let people down is that they barely won with Joe Biden in 2020, that coming off of the pandemic and people were exhausted from the way the pandemic was. Joe Biden, I think, did almost as good enough a job as he could do writing the course in a global, heading towards a global recession. Technically, we did hit a recession. There were multiple quarters where the GDP and all that jazz. Technically, we hit a recession. They kind of said we didn't or whatever, and then we kind of got out of it. It was like a soft recession. That's a good thing if you can soft land on a recession after a pandemic. There was a lot of money that was spent across the world, and there was a lot of inflation. The United States has done a better job handling that inflation than other countries, but the incumbent presidents and leaders of almost every first world country have not done well campaigning following that inflation. There is a direct response to how people feel and how, regardless of how, how low the unemployment is, people don't feel like they've got money. Now, that's not necessarily Joe Biden's fault. That's just a way that the sort of world works, where coming off of the pandemic, there was a lot of corporate greed and inflation. Absolutely. Inflation's down. Corporate greed still isn't. The prices haven't come down. Fair. Absolutely. The issue that I have with the DNC is they keep not listening to the people. Bernie Sanders, in multiple elections, 2016 and 2020, had basically collusion, and it was proven, right, through emails and whatnot. There was collusion to keep him from gaining power within the Democratic Party. Now, Bernie's an independent, but he ran in the Democratic Party because you got to pick a side. That's just the world we live in right now, right? And he has probably the longest track record of someone fighting for the people. He's been marching in the streets since the civil rights movement for the people. He has been right on so many issues for so long. With that said, in 2020, when he was running, he won the first few primaries. And then what happened? Everyone else colluded, got together and dropped out, from Klobuchar to Pete Buttigieg. So they all dropped out of the race to support Joe Biden. The center sort of side of the Democratic Party thought that they should have Joe Biden in office. And Bernie, being a team player, realized that it was Joe Biden, that he had the numbers, even though Bernie was by far the most popular candidate. And because we don't have ranked choice voting and because of all these other issues, Bernie just said, you know what, I guess I got to work within the system. So he called Joe, my friend Joe, I'm going to come together and we're going to do what's right for the country. And then, the administration gets rid of the proposed $15 minimum wage and all of the basic things that people were asking for. And Bernie and a lot of the progressives were left high and dry. Now, Donald Trump, and I'm going to give as much credit as possible, Donald Trump knows how to speak to the people. He knows how to speak towards a lot of fears that people have. I consider him a fake populist. He's a billionaire from New York City. That's how I feel. I don't think he cares about the middle class. I don't think he'd be caught dead, hanging with the middle class. He wants to hire attractive people to look at and be told he's great. That's how I feel. That's my opinion. I feel he's a fake populist, but I think Marianne Williamson said it best. People would rather vote on false hope than no hope. And Trump offered a solution to a lot of the problems that Biden kind of had a chance to fix. Sure, Trump colluded with the Republican leaders to kill the immigration bill that would have been very beneficial and a big win, sure. And in a lot of ways, the Biden administration didn't do a good job explaining their successes, like the CHIPS Act, the bringing back of billions of dollars worth of jobs, and also the Infrastructure Act that is going to provide a lot of jobs to, a lot of what Biden has signed on is going to take place and be implemented during Trump's presidency. including, Biden had to deal with the highest, really high interest rates. So people, which furthered a terrible home buying crisis. Those rates are continuing to come down. Donald Trump didn't want them coming down a month ago because of the election. Now he's going to be happy that they're coming down, and the economy may flourish. Now the question is going to be, is it flourishing because of Trump's new policies, or is it flourishing because the ship was righted? I believe it could be a little bit of both, but I believe right now the economy, the stock market has never been higher. And the main reason it was boosted this week is because people were afraid if Trump won, there would be riots in the street. There would be the insurrection level of violence. There would be recounting of votes, and the democracy would be questioned. And, was it a cheating and this and that? And what happened? Trump won, and all the election deniers went away. They shoved the fake electorates up their ass, and they've been quiet. Why? Because the election isn't unfair. It's not stolen. Now, you could say it's unfair for other reasons like gerrymandering and things like that. But anyhow, the points that I'm trying to make are that you should be upset at the DNC, the elites that, have kept Nancy Pelosi and all these others in power. You should be upset at the insider trading, like I said, that has clearly happened in both parties, but not only one party. Both parties have gotten rich while in office. You should be so upset that people like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard decided to go Republican or go independent or go to Trump's side because they couldn't get their voices out in the Democratic Party, mainly RFK Jr. Regardless of what you think of the guy, he, like everyone else, deserves a chance at the table in the primaries. So many people use shame as a way to divide others and say, well, no, Joe Biden's the incumbent and we don't challenge the president. And I understand the message there when the president's got a high approval rating, but 2 flipping years ago, the DNC could have let these primaries play out in a way. And again, you might say, well, no, there was a primary. Okay, sure. If that's the conversation you want to have, then don't expect to win another election in a long, long time. There needs to be robust debate. RFK, there was lawsuits to keep him off of ballots and this and that. Look, if you don't like him, I understand. He's got some kooky thoughts. But right now, he's going to be a big part of the Trump administration, from what we can tell. And you're going to have to live with the guy, and hopefully the work he's done as an environmental lawyer, and hopefully the work he's done to try to, or at least the way he's trying to highlight the fact that the FDA allows for a lot of poison and different things in foods that other countries don't. Let's expose that. Sure, absolutely. That should have been a conversation the DNC was having. The DNC, the fact that they couldn't get the full blessing of the unions is insane, because Trump's a union buster. And yet still the Teamsters would rather not endorse the Democratic candidate than that, because half of them wanted to endorse a union buster. Trump's a union buster. Right? He told people, if you want to organize, I'm going to walk you outside and fire you right on the spot. Right? He's not for the people. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. A lot of worry is that there'll be a huge exchange of wealth to the billionaire class. There'll be a huge exchange of wealth and contracts that are given to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And what will this do for the environment? What will this do for regulations? In some ways, people like RFK want to get rid of a lot of the sort of late stage capitalism that has made our food, disgusting and our health crisis, one of the worst in the country. So it's so confusing that I don't know which way the country is going to go, or the direction it's all going to go. I see that my screen just froze for a second. That must be the deep state not wanting me to have these conversations. Anyway, you might think, this is just a whole bunch of word salad from Dave. I mean, it's a complicated thing to talk about, because I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that they gave Kamala 100 days to try to state her case, and they should have had a 2-year primary, and maybe Kamala would have won. Maybe she wouldn't have. Maybe Josh Shapiro would have won, or Gavin Newsom, or Gretchen Whitmer. Who knows? But she wasn't able to remove herself from the sort of immigration crisis that kind of plagues Joe Biden. And because of that, people were not inspired to vote for her. I don't think Trump rallied many new voters. I think a lot of people didn't show up to vote for the Democratic Party. And trust me when I say, I know a lot of people in the last 8 years that were Bernie Sanders fans that now are Trump fans. Again, I think it's fake populism. I don't think Trump plans on delivering for the middle class, but I have no choice but to see how it all goes down. I'll continue to cover a sparse amount of election news and political news on the podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. I have no problem sharing my opinion. The problem I have is with some of you. And again, this might be less than 1%. Most of you guys are rock stars. But the problem I have with you, the collective audience, is you can't only praise someone when they have an opinion you like. So for all the people that were part of the Justice for Kaitlyn movement that gave me all these compliments, like, you're so brave to go after this guy and share your opinion. We believe you. We're right on. And then I share something that's critical of your main man, Mr. Donald Trump, the future president 47. And all of a sudden I'm an idiot. So which one is it? I operate on the same guidepost, which is to try to see the world through all of the BS that's out there and give my honest take. That's how I operate. And the honest take is that the DNC has a lot of soul searching to do. It's almost like if I had a stand-up set where I bombed and I blamed the audience. It's like, no, Dave, write better jokes. Don't blame the audience. Don't blame the people that didn't show up to vote for Kamala Harris. Blame the party that didn't inspire and put together enough policy that would inspire people to say, that's the side I want to be on. And it'll be a while. It'll be months where they look through that and realize, geez, what do people really care about? And I think it all comes down to the economy. I don't think anything else matters. Is that I think it really comes down to the fact that costs of goods have gone up, whether it's through inflation or corporate greed. And I think that is the biggest deciding factor. Will Trump, there are a lot of economists that say Trump's tariffs and things like that are going to cost the average American another $5,000 or $6,000 a year. We'll see. The place that we're at right now, it's like, look, I'm so sick of the hypotheticals. We'll see. It's a very privileged place that I exist where I can say, well, we'll see how it all goes down. Again, my life is going perfectly fine. Any little adding of taxes or whatever isn't going to change my bottom line. It's the people that are living paycheck to paycheck that could do that a few years ago, and due to the rising cost of groceries or whatnot, they can't now. So on one end, you got a whole bunch of people saying the economy's perfectly fine. Well, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't rip-roaring enough to get people out to vote. And rather than point fingers at the other side, I think the DNC needs to do a lot of soul searching. Who's that populist candidate that's going to come out and speak for the American people and bring fairness back into the process, and not feel like it's just being run by, the selected elites. That's what it comes down to. Okay. I can already tell my computer's borderline crashing, so I've made too much content this week. If you want to catch me, I'll be on the Rush Hour podcast this afternoon, the Rush Hour with Dave Neal, all of your entertainment and pop culture news. So for all of you people that say, oh, stop talking politics, go listen to the podcast. I got a lot of weird stories out there that are non-political. We'll see you then. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you later.